See? So, okay. So in the last class, what we started with what are those different behaviors which are deviating from the Mendelism or the concepts of Mendelian genetics, which were specifically relating to some dominant and recessive traits being expressed in an organism. And based on that, we had looked at few. That was incomplete dominance, or which is also called as partial dominance, and the codominance. In just as a quick brief overview, in incomplete dominance, the offsprings that you get in F2 generation will have the characteristics of both the original parents, not of the F1 generation, but of the original parents. And even the F1 generation, they will have half characteristics of both, rather the full characteristics of both, but the ultimate trait that is being exhibited is looking like half of each of the parent individual. So that way it was incomplete dominance, and we had seen an example of this particular type of flowering plants where the red and white getting mixed and the pink flowers are being produced in F1 as well as in F2. And the major difference with respect to the incomplete dominance and that of a typical monohybrid cross, Mendelian typical monohybrid cross, was the phenotype ratio. And like we know, the phenotype ratio in Mendelian crosses, it was 3:1, 3 being dominant characters and 1 being recessive character. And in this case, it changes to 1:2:1. Again, the first one is homozygous dominant. These two are these incomplete dominant ones, and the last one is homozygous recessive. And that you can see here also what you get. And again, different examples in terms of the size of the grain, and in Pisum sativum, which was not studied by Mendel as such, because it doesn't include in those 7 characters that he studied. So starch grain size was one of the phenomena which also showed incomplete dominance. And then the codominance, both the traits, they are expressing themselves equally, and then again the phenotypic ratio changes to 1:2:1, apart from 3:1. And in this case, what we had seen was when the white cow and the red cow, when they are crossed with each other, what you get is the roan, both of them being dominant, that is white color for the coat color or the red coat color, both of them are dominant. So in this next generation, what you get is the roan color, that is patches of red as well as white. Then we had also looked at a quick example of blood group, and we know now there are 4 blood groups. O is, that means there was no antigen. A will have A antigen. A blood group will have A antigen. B blood group will have B antigen, and AB will have both the antigens. So the type of genotype that they can have for O is both homozygous for IO. Then for blood group A, it can be homozygous for IA, or it can be heterozygous for IO. Again, here A being dominant, it will express the characteristics of A antigen, that is ultimately of A blood group. In blood group B, it can either be homozygous for IB, or it can be heterozygous for IO. Again, B being dominant, it will express, and the O will be recessive one. So that way it will still have B blood group. And AB, it can have IA and IB, so it is heterozygous individual, but both be codominant, that is will express the antigens A as well as B. So that way blood group system is one of the example of codominance. And then we had also looked at the MN blood group system based on what antigens are present on the surface of RBCs. That will also be example of codominance, especially when the both of the M and N antigens are present on the RBCs, that will be acting as a codominance phenomena, and it will have MN blood group. And the last example that we saw was of the sickle cell anemia, where if it is affected individual, it will have this phenotype where the one of the residue in the amino acid is changed, that is HBS. If it is homozygous, that means that individual will be affected. If it is heterozygous individual, then half of the RBCs will be normal, half of them will be affected, and that individual will have longer survival rate. If it is normal, of course, that both homozygous for normal gene, then it will still survive longer. So that way, we had looked at the codominance as well. Now, apart from these different deviations, there are few more which are taking into consideration of more than one gene, right? More than one, can be two or can be three or can be even more. So that way, when these genes, they interact with each other. Now, according to Mendel, there were only two copies of particular allele or genes being acting for one particular character. But that was not the case, which was observed later while others were studying. So then there were quite a few characteristics or quite a few phenomena which came into picture. And first being epistasis, which means inhibiting genes. So now in this form of gene interaction, the one of the gene will interfere by masking the expression of another. And this is not like what I mean by like how we say dominant and recessive. There also the recessive is not expressed, but that recessive is not masked by the dominant. Dominant expresses, recessive does not express. That was the normal phenomena in the Mendelian genetics. What we are talking of epistasis here, it means that one gene is not allowing other to express, being dominant one. So that is again a different phenomena. We will see how exactly does it happen with few examples in the epistasis. But and there can be two types, can be dominant epistasis and recessive epistasis. So that means the gene which is acting or masking the expression of other will have either dominant or recessive epistasis phenomenon. Then the second one is the complementary one. So like I said, we will see the examples as well as little bit more details in the subsequent slides. But here I just giving you a brief of it. Complementary genes. This is the interaction of genes in which one gene complements the expression of another gene. Now in this first case of epistasis, they were inhibiting. In the second case, they are complementing the expression of each other. And they can be both recessive. And now you imagine both recessive being, that means ideally we imagine they should produce recessive phenotype only. But that may not be the case. And that is what this is talking about, complementary gene. So the complementary genes are a type of non-allelic genes which can interact together to produce a combined trait. Now combined trait will not be equivalent to the recessive phenotype, but it will be somewhere close to the dominant one. Being a recessive and still being able to express like a dominant one, not completely, but that way. So that is called as complementary genes. Each gene in the complementary pair cannot produce the independent traits, though they are dominant. And even if these genes, complementary genes, even if they are dominant, they cannot produce individually their traits. If they are recessive, obviously no chance that they cannot produce their own trait. But if they are dominant, still they cannot produce the trait. That is the phenomena with the complementary genes. And again, we will see the example. So there you will get more clarity about this. Then duplicate genes. Now, the name itself says there is more than one pair of the genes, like in duplicate, and they will produce the same expression for a particular character. So that means having more than a pair, right? In Mendelian genetics, it was as if that there is one pair for one character or a pair of allele for one character. Here what we are talking is more than one pair for one single character, that is duplicate genes. And there is something called as multiple alleles. Now duplicate is two and multiple is it can have more than that, but they can have different patterns of expression. So in multiple alleles, these are the multiple alternatives of the same gene which influence the same character and produce different expression based on what is the combination. Let's say for example there are 4 or 5 genes which are controlling the same character. Like for example in case of your skin color or eye color, there are I guess 8 or so genes which control the skin color and the eye color as well separately. And that way they, based on which of these are getting expressed more, and also what is the quantity that they are getting expressed, the phenotype that will be observed will be different. Then and based on that there will be different individual of a species or within a particular population, you will see this quite a different expression. Like not like rarely we find exact two skin colors which are same looking around us. There will be slight difference always amongst the individuals, and the reason is because there are quite a few permutation combinations due to the multiple alleles. Then the member of these multiple series, they are located on the same gene. Very important criteria. Ideally we assume that alleles if they are in multiple copies, they can be located on different chromosome, but in this case the members of this multiple allele series, they are located on the same gene locus. Gene locus means not at the same location, but on the chromosome they are located on a particular chromosome and of the same homologous pair. That means one from mother and one from father. On these two chromosomes they will be located in series one after the another, and their gene locus in terms of location it might vary, but locus as if within one stretch of chromosome they will all be located. So that is what is gene locus here. And multiple alleles of series arise by the mutation of wild type allele, and usually this is the result of wild type allele. So usually what we say wild type is whatever is existent in nature and dominant, that is wild type. Now over the time it can mutate and it can create a mutated copy, right? And that mutated copy also stays in the body along with the wild type copy. And then these mutations they keep on happening, and there are like let's say 4 or 5 copies of the mutated gene being developed. So that way then all 4 or 5 of them staying in the same chromosomal locus or gene locus, they will be called as multiple alleles, provided they are expressing or working for a same character. So that way it's multiple alleles. I guess we should look at, yeah, let's look at the multiple allele first and then we'll go to the epistasis. So in case of multiple alleles, they have certain characteristics. That is multiple alleles, they arise by the mutation of wild type gene that we have seen already how and why. These multiple alleles, they occupy the same locus in the homologous chromosome, that also we have seen. That means they will be on one copy on the mother's chromosomal set and the other on the father's chromosomal set. And only one member of the series is present in a given chromosome and only 2 members in an individual. That means out of these multiple copies, only one series is present on the given chromosome. That is like that's what I said, either on the parental or not parental, maternal or paternal set of chromosome, and only 2 members as in only 2 copies can be present in an individual, right? So that is quite obvious, that is something like a diploid stage. That is what is being explained in this third point. Multiple alleles, it just the third point is written in a little different way, but otherwise what it means is it will have 2 copies and one like within one individual they can only have 2 copies, and all these multiple alleles they will be present in series on a given chromosome. Then the fourth point, that is the multiple alleles regulate the same character but can have different degree of expression. And like I said, like for a particular skin color, let's say fourth mutation, if it is expressed more, that will lead to more darker skin, right? So based on what is the amount of expression of this allele 4 in terms of skin color, the darkness or the complexion of the skin will vary. And that way these multiple alleles they can regulate the same character, like for example skin color, but they can have different degree of expression. That is the amount of protein that they will express or amount of function that they will regulate will be different based on how much of their expression has happened. And that's more like quantitative in nature. Of course it is qualitative, but more than qualitative it is quantitative as well. Then the multiple alleles they do not undergo crossing over. Now like if you remember in meiosis 1, homologous pair of chromosome they match with each other and they perform the function of crossing over, that is that chiasma structure, right? That does not form with the multiple alleles. It can only be formed with the wild type allele of within the chromosome. And there are obvious reasons for this, because if there are crossing over is happening, I don't know the mechanism why this crossing over should not happen, but I assume that location wise they are distant from the terminal ends, and that way they may not be undergoing the crossing over. That is the only possibility that I see. In multiple alleles, the wild type expression is dominant, like that is obvious. Wild type, that is naturally present one or the originally present one, will be dominant one, while all the other expressions they are recessive to wild type, but they may be related as dominant and recessive among themselves, or they may exhibit codominance. So like if there are more than 2 or 3 alleles, and the wild type will be one and the rest other, they might be codominant with the wild type or they might be recessive with the wild type. So depend on what is the expression pattern, what gene are we talking about, or what allele are we talking about, then that thing will vary. But then still this multiple allele they can have different type of expression or different degree of expression. They can be recessive to wild type or they can be codominant to wild type. So these are the various characteristics of the multiple alleles. Now the example of these multiple alleles is again the human blood group, right? We have more than 2 like what we say the alleles which regulate the blood group system. So human population has flowed 4 blood groups, A, B, AB and O, and which are determined by the specific presence of the glycoprotein substance called antigen, like we have denoted it by ABC, sorry AB not C. And on the surface of RBCs they will express a particular antigen, and that's why they have this isoagglutinin with A antigen, isoagglutinin with B antigen, or isoagglutinin with O antigen or no antigen, right? So these are located on the chromosome 9. So blood group system is actually regulated from the chromosome 9, where all these 3 alleles they are present. Now no antigen, that is IO, isoagglutinin with O, is the wild type and it is recessive, right? Now what we had said in earlier cases, like wild type is dominant one, but in this case wild type is recessive one, because over the time I guess these antigens they were produced A and B, and the original one was wild type and that is being expressed as O. Now recessive, uh, when we say recessive and dominant, we usually assume that recessive is not getting expressed, right, according to Mendelian genetics. But in these cases, in non-Mendelian genetics, recessive may show a phenotype and that is what is IO, which is wild type yet being recessive. Now the alleles of IA and IB, okay, that has to be superscripted, which I missed here. But yeah, this IA and IB, these are dominant over the gene IO. IO being recessive, that is still getting expressed without any antigen, and IA and IB, these are the dominant one. But they are co-dominant to each other. They are dominant over IO, but to each other they are co-dominant, and hence both are expressed when present together. Now, if you look at this particular situation, there are three different alleles. Then the expression pattern is varying based on what is co-dominant, what is recessive, what is dominant. The expression pattern will change and it will decide the blood group of that particular individual. I guess, where is that diagram?
Sir,
Yes.
so what is crossing over?
Crossing over?
Yeah.
Normal crossing, or what we call as in meiosis, when the two homologous pair of chromosome, they arrange themselves in a pair, they exchange a portion of each other.
Yeah.
That part is crossing over. You know it, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I just remembered.
So prophase 1 of meiosis. In images, I hope I can see it somewhere. Yeah, no, I don't see it here at all. But how can I put it in the words, if at all? Yeah, you can see it here. Yeah, forget about what are the other, but this part is getting exchanged. So blue one is going to the pink one and pink one is going to the blue one. So this particular thing is called crossing over.
So since the multiple alleles don't get like they don't cross over, does that like result in something?
I'm not too sure. Like I said, I'm not much aware of what exactly could be the reason of that they not crossing over with each other. But one of the assumption, like not assumption, I guess it should be very logical. Like we said, multiple alleles, they are present in series on one chromosome. Correct? Right? We had seen in this part, third. So if they are present in series, that means on one of the, let's say, maternal chromosome, they are present, and the other series is present on the paternal chromosome. Now, when they are crossing over, they can only cross over with each other. They cannot cross within the same chromosome. Are you getting it?
Yes.
And that way, the multiple alleles, they do not undergo crossing over with each other. That's what this statement means. And that is like, I'm thinking from a logical perspective, but I guess that should be correct. I'm not totally 100% sure about it.
Okay, so like crossing over within the same chromosome.
Exactly.
So like no one does that. So it doesn't happen. That's what they're written.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Sir, I also have another question. So the Mendelian, that law of independent assortment, that applies only to the alleles then, right?
Only to
Alleles. And in case of the multiple alleles, then it doesn't happen at all.
correct, because multiple allele itself is a non-Mendelian behavior. Right? Because the reason why I say that, when Mendel studied, he had a clear assumption that for one particular character, there are only two copies of the alleles. And here what we see is, for one particular character, there can be more than two alleles being present in the chromosomal setup. So that way, the Mendelian genetics laws cannot be applicable to non-Mendelian stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And that is why we are looking at these behaviors which are non-Mendelian only.
Also, but why can't multiple alleles undergo independent assortment?
No, they can undergo independent assortment as such, but not again with each other, right? So there is two things. Like there will be, let's say, 7 different alleles on one chromosome, and similar 7 copies with alternative expression will be present on the another parental set, right? They cannot undergo independent assortment amongst those 7. They can undergo independent assortment with the other parent's copy. That is what is independent assortment, right? When we talk of independent assortment, we are talking of 2 or more characters. So if I go back to those slides, where is it? Too far. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so when we talk of independent assortment, we consider 2 characters, right?
Yeah.
So in multiple alleles, it may or may not have 2 characters. Like for example, one is producing white pigment for the skin color or no pigment for skin color, and the other one is producing black pigment, right? And there can be various such pigments. There are actually quite a few pigments like brown pigment and gray pigment and black pigment and so on. Now, they cannot be independently assorted amongst themselves. They can only be independently assorted with this set to the other trait set.
So like so in this, let's just if we are considering this, let's say there are 5 different characters of skin color. So for this we need another character, right? So that character, one allele of that character, it can like go along with any of the 5.
Correct, but then all these 5 they will express either from mother's chromosome or from father's chromosome, whichever is dominant or whichever is like showing a trait. What independent assortment is, individual separation of the allele, right? That does not happen in non-Mendelian genetics. Here, what you are having is only yellow or only green, or in the other case, you can only have round or wrinkled. That is a very clear separation, correct? When you go back to skin color or any of those such examples, you cannot have separation between a white pigment or black pigment and brown pigment, though they are different alleles, but copies of the same character. That is multiple allele, and that's what is non-Mendelian then. And that is why they cannot be separated. They might have expression pattern at the same time.
So like here there is YYRR, then small y and like 2 small r's. So if all 8 were different, then it would be something like a multiple allele.
If all
8 were different.
No,
like there are 4 Y's. Let's just say the first is like let's say Y is skin color, so it's white and black, and then red and blue, something like that.
Not really. So instead, let's say if we have for capital Y, we have capital Y1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All capital Y1, capital Y2, capital Y3, and so on. And for small y1, which is the another copy, will be coming from the other set of parents. So it will be again small y1, small y2, small y3, small y5, right? So this capital Y1 and capital Y2 and the same capital series cannot get separated, but capital Y can get separated from the small y. That is what is independent assortment. So the statement that says multiple alleles do not undergo the independent assortment because they cannot get separated because they are located on the same chromosome. And that is the same reason why probably they cannot even undergo crossing over. Did you get this now?
Okay, so like here it's only written Y, but if there was a multiple allele system, then it would be a bunch of Ys.
Correct.
So the whole thing is considered as a set.
Yes,
and
because
that set cannot change.
yes, because they show same or they function for the same character. That is most important. They all are responsible for, let's say, skin color. Yeah, and that is why it is followed. And this, like I said, capital Y1, capital Y2 can be of different letters. One can be Y, one can be G, one can be 3, and they all can be multiple alleles for the same character. The letter or denotion doesn't matter.
So it doesn't follow law of segregation.
Law of segregation, it does.
So, but law, like the alleles can't get separated, right?
Now, though, the allelic separation in law of segregation talks about the maternal and paternal set. That way, it does happen. What we are talking is, see, what you are trying to do is, you are trying to apply Mendelian's law to the non-Mendelian stuff. And that is where the, probably, what we say, that shouldn't be done at all, because Mendelian genetics is totally different how it functions, and non-Mendelian genetics is actually the exceptions to Mendelian one. So that way you cannot really apply those laws to these things.
Okay.
Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Because law of separation or segregation or this independent assortment, that was specifically considering certain points. And you remember that chromosomal theory of inheritance, that was based on certain points. That's what came after your Mendel's experiment. But that had certain drawbacks. And those drawbacks, they are under non-Mendelian genetics, where then all those laws, they may not be completely applicable or not at all applicable, because that is non-Mendelian behavior. Okay, so I hope that part is clear. Where are we? Quite far. Incomplete codominance. Okay, yeah. So then these characteristics, yeah, and then we had also looked this half of the human blood group example. Now, based on the possible combinations of how this multiple allele functions, now I did not deliberately kept a diagram which explains this Punnett square of this, but this is very simple to understand now. If a man homozygous for blood group A, homozygous for blood group A means it can be either IA, or that's the only possibility. If it is IA, IO, it will be heterozygous. Yeah, what we are talking is homozygous for blood group A. So IA marries a woman of blood group O, again, which is homozygous. That means again she is IO. So if they are marrying, they will have children with blood group A only, because all the children will be heterozygous. They will be carrying IA from father and IO from mother. So that is, yes.
But how is this an example of like multiple genes? So in this, you only have two alleles. One from your mother and one from your father. So it's like a normal Mendelian thing, right?
This statement is not of multiple allele, but this combination later, which we are going to see in terms of AB, that is the example. But for that, we need to understand this part.
No, like a person, like in one chromosome, like one homologous chromosome, it will have only one blood type, like only one. And on the other homologous chromosome, it will have a different blood type. So it's kind of like the same as Mendelian, right?
So that is what is being said here. The copy of gene, where is that statement? these are located on chromosome 9. That means there will be one set of IA, IB, and IO on chromosome 9 of the father, and there will be another set which is IA, IB, and IO from the chromosome 9 of mother.
Yeah, sir, but that's what I'm saying. That's not the case, right? It's only one in the set of father, like any of the three, and any one in the mother. I mean, like you won't have all three on the same homologous chromosome.
Why not?
So, but if you had all three, then O would never express because O is recessive here. Right?
That is what is happening there, no? Then
No, sir, but like there are some people who have blood group O, right?
correct. But then
Yeah.
you have to be homozygous for IO.
Yes, you have to be homozygous for IO. That would say that there is only a one allele of O in mother and one allele of O in father. There
Correct.
aren't alleles of A and B in either chromosome.
Oh, you are talking from that way. Yes, yes, yes. Then you are right. But then that is not, this is what I am saying. These are not the examples of multiple allele, but this one, where is that AB? This one is. Are you getting it?
So, but this is more like codominance, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It would be
Correct.
more codominance.
Actually, some of the codominance phenomena, they are an example. Now in codominance, again, there are only two, right? Here there are three. That is why it is example of codominance as well as multiple alleles.
So, but the multiple alleles aren't there in the same person, right?
They are there in
I
the
know it. I think it means like you can have any two of the three. Is that what multiple alleles is here? There are three separate alleles, but you can have any two of them.
Again, if you go back to this statement, multiple alleles regulate the same character but have different degree of expression. Are you getting it now? That alleles, they are present in the chromosome 9, but they may or may not have complete expression.
So, but it can't be that for the same species, like once like overexpresses and the other time he expresses, right?
Why not? These are totally what we call as transcription or epigenetics stuff.
No, like if you have A and O,
Hmm.
and like we have similar structures, right?
Hmm.
Structures and all. So if we have A and O, like the dominant one will express, right? And here it says that A is dominant.
So again, what you are assuming is whenever A, B, and O are present as allele in one particular individual, they are the only dictators of their expression. That is not the case. They have several other genes which play role in their expression. So some of the genes are there in that particular individual, which will allow A to express only or B to express only or both to express and not allow O to express. So any of these possible combinations. So it is not only the fact that A, B, and O, they are the dictator of their own expression. Now to simplify things, we always say that particular gene which is coding for IA will lead to the blood group A. That is true. But then that particular statement has too many assumptions behind it that the expression is allowed to happen. When it is in combination with others, that expression should be allowed to happen. That is a process of transcription, or what we call in other language as epigenetics. Some transcription factors, if they are present in the genome of that particular individual, they allow the expression of a particular gene, or they do not allow the expression of a particular gene. So if those transcription factors are present in that individual, then the expression pattern will vary. And did you get what I said?
So you're saying that every chromosome has all 3 copies of the allele.
For not again for all the traits. In this case, yes.
So like a person has 2 chromosomes and each chromosome has a multiple gene, that's AI, AO and AB.
Depends on the individual, but yes, in a way, true.
So but like how can your body have like all the alleles of blood group? I mean,
That is what I'm saying. No, the expression pattern is different for individual copy of the allele. If individual allele, let's say A, B, and O, they are all being present in the same chromosomal set. Again, there will be 2 copies, maternal and paternal. But let's say A and B does not get expressed, and only O is expressed. Then the blood group will be O of that particular individual. Now, even though A and B is present, you would happily assume that the blood group will be AB, because both should express and they are being dominant over O. But that may not be the case. That expression pattern has to be there. And like the what I said, the transcription factors are the one which decides what is allowed to be expressed and what should not be allowed to express.
so but that argument can't hold for any gene, right? So if there are 2 genes, one is dominant and one is
No, actually that argument is true for every particular gene.
So we can't really say that one gene is dominant, because then we should say that that depends on the transcription factors. So no gene is actually dominant or no gene is actually recessive.
Now another assumption there is, whenever we say a gene is dominant, it will always have that transcription factor along with that particular gene, which is causing the expression of particular gene being dominant. So that,
but another, like in another individual of the same species, it might have a different transcription factor that kind of prefers the recessive gene. So then the recessive gene will be dominant, right? So we can't really say.
correct, but that is true, because
what's the point of saying dominant and recessive genes?
When we say a dominant or recessive, that is for that particular species. And usually the expression pattern is same because they are evolutionarily conserved gene. Rarely you will find a gene which is dominant in one species and it is recessive in other species. Rarely.
So yeah, so like that's exactly the same thing that I was trying to say earlier. So if you take like a species, they will have almost the same machinery, right? So the transcription factors and all. So like if you have all the 3 blood groups, whichever is the most dominant or whichever has like does co-dominance or something. So if you have A, B, and O, maybe A and B will form a co-dominant thing, right? I mean, you can't have all of them, and in each person, a different one expresses themselves, right?
In a way, yes. So I totally understand what you are trying to say. And I may not have complete answer to it, but from my logical perspective, what I think I told you, and maybe I guess let me read it more about this, because I might be wrong at times. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm totally right, but yeah, let me just read, and again you can also read it up. But what I said, that is the case with most of the expression patterns. But yeah, let's leave it at this. We will go back to the reference for this particular fact, and then we'll come back.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm a little confused.
Hmm.
Is it, you said it's possible for a person to have all 3?
To have all 3 alleles.
Yeah, but at a particular position on the chromosome, it allows space only for 2, right?
No, the expression pattern is only for 2. That is from depending on which gene is there.
Yeah, sir, and like, and that's what Like, I think there can't be all three. Like, even if there are alleles, because then like every person would have almost the same blood group. Like maybe one or two here and there because very specific mutations.
Okay, let me check in that case, but still, okay, just leave it. Let me say that I will look at this particular fact and we will come back to this in the next class itself. So we will have more clear understanding. Let me not say anything more on that, which will lead to confusion otherwise. I guess we can stop here itself. I will talk about this when we have more data, and I will give you that details of what chromosome, where exactly it is located, and if all three are located on the both the sets, and so on. And then from there we can discuss this multiple factor wala discussion, and also the epistresis and so on. Okay, so shall I stop here? Is that okay? And we can also, like, we are leaving little early, but that's fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so fine. So I will see you people. I don't remember the time. I guess 4:45, right? I said.
Yes.
Yeah. So I will see you then. Paper is not going to be lengthy. It will be relatively objective type only, but there will be some stuff to write. So you might not even need 1.5 hours, but let's see. And I deliberately kept it like this because there is 4 chapters, quite a lot of concepts to be checked and so on. So yeah, we will see. Okay, so see you in the evening, people. Bye bye, and do study until then. Yeah, see you. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.